Hey everyone, it's TheSofaSoldier here. Today I want to talk about Nioh. It's a game that is absolutely brilliant, far better than I would have even expected, and I expected a lot based on the beta and alpha that were out earlier last year. It's a game that I've been spending a lot of time playing, as you no doubt have noticed. I've streamed it multiple times, I've really enjoyed it. I'm still not finished. I'm genuinely having the time of my life. It's the best game I've played in a long time, and it's easily, I would say, up there in like the top three of like the PlayStation 4's strongest exclusive games. And this is a PlayStation 4 exclusive. I'm sorry, Xbox and PC people. Like, this was made in conjunction with like Sony Japan, Koei Tecmo, and Team Ninja. It's very Japanese, it's very Sony. You're not really going to be getting it on another console. And to be honest, I don't mind, because this game is enough to sell a PlayStation 4 on its own to someone like me. I mean, this essentially, it's a Souls-like action RPG set in Sengoku era Japan, which was like around like the era of Enlightenment kind of time in the West. Like, it was the end of the Elizabethan era in England, and the main protagonist is actually, well, he's from England, but he's Irish. In fact, he's really Irish, and it's actually quite funny and distracting when he's trying to be serious. But anyway, yeah, it's set in this era of like massive social upheaval in Japan, near constant war. Like Nobunaga Oda is like, or Oda Nobunaga rather, is basically trying to unite all of the clans in Japan, whether they like it or not. You know, razing every village to the ground, beheading people. Like, it's fucking chaos. And on top of that, fucking demons have taken over, and yokai have come out of the underworld and are possessing places that have been torn to bits by battle. And you, as William Adams, like I said, Irishman in Japan, he's basically had his guardian spirit, Saoirse, stolen by the English alchemist Edward Kelly, who really doesn't look like an advisor to the crown like Edward Kelly is supposed to be. He's supposed to be this mysterious alchemist that's his job is to find supernatural ways to win the war against the Spanish for the Queen. And basically he looks like Jake Wesker from Resident Evil 6 and has a ridiculous English accent like Albert Wesker, but has, you know, crazy fucking tattoos carved into his skin all over him. Yeah, I mean, he basically looks like Jake Wesker's joined like a German death metal band and carved pentagrams into his chest. So it's fucking ridiculous, right? But the story itself is really well told. There's a lot of Japanese historical figures that make their way into it in meaningful ways. You can see what's happening at the time, and how Kelly is trying to pit these warlords against each other to exploit the land that they're in, basically, and to grab that supernatural energy to use as a weapon. And he's using your stolen guardian spirit as a conduit to do so. So your basic goal is to get her back, really. The story doesn't exactly drag you in, but what does drag you in is the gameplay, and the gameplay is just fucking brilliant. You know, it's from Team Ninja, who are the masters of this. They've done this with, I think they did DMC, Devil May Cry. You know, they've done the Ninja Gaiden games. They've done a bunch of stuff. They're really famous. They're really well accomplished. They know that type of gameplay inside and out. But this is much more like Dark Souls. I would say that it's got the kind of the gameplay and the punishing level of difficulty that a Souls game has got, with like the attention to detail as well. But almost like the level design and the aesthetic of like an Onimusha game, and like the speed of the combat that you get from like a Ninja Gaiden. So it's like a, you know, a perfect storm of all of those three great games, which is just brilliant. Like, that would sell it to me on its own as a comparison. You know, this amazing, gorgeous aesthetic, fantastic weather effects, brilliant level design, unlocking shortcuts, all of the usual Souls tropes, but it's very different from Souls, obviously, because of its setting is so far removed from the Dark Souls series, with its big ruined castles and smashed up cities and kind of Gothic knights and everything, Gothic medieval towns and that. This is totally different. Warlords, shogunate Japan, ravaged, torn apart, burnt to bits. You know, these beautiful temples in the rain and the night with the lightning streaking down. Snow on a glacier making your way through, like a frozen shrine and stuff like that. Like, all of these amazing places that are just so different from a Souls game. All of the levels are contained as well. Unlike a Souls game, it's actually split into levels. It's not one continuous open world, which actually does it some good because it feels a lot more focused. You're not feeling like you're walking round and round for hours trying to explore to find items. There's a real reward in it and it feels more immediate. I think it just allows them, by making more contained areas, to really focus on sharpening up the visual fidelity of everything and making it look really nice, which is great because this game actually has 3 different settings that you can run it at. It has action mode, which is the one I use, which is locked at 60 frames per second and a variable resolution. It runs usually at about 900p, something like that. So it doesn't run at full 1080, but you get the benefit of a full 60 frames, which is great, where like your movement and your sword hits and everything really matter, and range and distance really play a part, which always do in these, you know, Souls-like games. You can be dead in a matter of seconds and you want to know how you died, and like literally millimeters can mean the difference between you dodging a potentially life-ending hit and not. And when you're running it at 30 frames, you can get some really bullshit deaths. But for those that want a more cinematic experience, there is like a cinematic mode where it's, you know, full 1080p, locked at 30 frames, but with like high dynamic range and everything. And it just looks absolutely gorgeous on that. Yeah, you notice the slowdown a little bit more, but it's no difference than, say, playing Dark Souls 3 on a console or anything. It still looks and plays really well. It just runs at a slower frame rate. So you've got those options, which are great, and I think more games should have that. It's really set a new precedent that's good, that other developers should step up to the plate and say, you know, maybe we should include that. I mean, we've already got that option on PC to be able to tweak the settings to see what it runs at and everything and try and get better performance. Why not give us a more basic version on console that allows us to run the games that we want in the way that we want to run them, essentially. The gameplay in this, absolutely brutal, really challenging. Like, regular enemies will fuck you up so fast if you do not know what you're doing. If you try and run in like this is fucking Dynasty Warriors and slash everything to pieces, you're going to get destroyed. This is exactly like a Souls game, you know. You've got to learn your enemy's attack patterns. You've got to respect the weapons they're using. You've got to respect their range and what they're capable of as well. And you've got to learn how to exploit an enemy's defences. It's really, really fun, incredibly challenging. You've got a huge arsenal of weapons. You've got swords, you've got dual katanas, which are smaller and faster. You've got kusarigamas, which is like a flail on a chain with a blade sickle on the end. You've got axes, you know, you've got mallets, you've got spears, you've got all sorts of stuff, each with 3 unique stances: mid stance, high stance and low stance. Low stance does the least damage but has the fastest flurry of attacks and uses the least stamina. Mid stance has like wide sweeping attacks that can hit multiple enemies and is a good balance between damage and speed. High stance, which uses a lot of slow overhead attacks which do a hell of a lot of damage and do a lot of stun to the enemy as well. It's worth noting that just as your guard can be broken if you run out of ki or stamina and you're literally frozen on the spot and open to attacks, you can do the same thing to enemies as well. If you deplete their stamina, like, they're literally defenseless, and then you can one-hit kill them with like a grapple or a backstab or something. And it's super satisfying to be able to manipulate that. That all ties into your armor and loot system as well. Like, the heavier the armor you're wearing, you know, if you're wearing this big heavy metal samurai armor, you're not going to have much ki, like, you know, the stamina basically. I'm just going to call it ki from now on because it's going to get confusing. Also, you know, if you want to regenerate stamina fast mid-fight, there's a window of opportunity where light swirls around you and your ki gauge lights up and you can tap R1 to quickly regenerate that portion that you've just expended on a move or a dodge or whatever. And using that key pulse mechanic is absolutely key to winning fights, particularly when you're fighting bosses and everything, because all of your movement, you know, your sprint, your dodge, your roll, your attack combos, all of that's tied in to your stamina system, to your ki system. So you've really got to learn to use the ki pulse in order to extend your combos and to be able to get out afterwards. Yeah, there's just a massive amount of variety. Also, aside from all of the different levels of, you know, armor customization and stuff like that, you know, there's soul matching, where you can basically take higher level gear and put it into low level gear that you want to keep to level it up and match the stats. You know, it's very similar to Diablo 3 in that there's a really big, deep loot system like that you can exploit, and you can level up some really good gear. You can find legendary pieces of armor that drop from certain bosses. The boss fights themselves are absolutely fucking brilliant. They're the best boss fights I've had in any game in ages. I would argue that they're some of my favourite boss fights in like any kind of Souls game pretty much ever, or any RPG that I've had. They're just so well designed, so unique as well. There's some great ones that I will be showcasing over the time this video's on, but also hopefully in the coming weeks I want to put some boss videos up just to show you what it's like. Yeah, you can reforge all of your armor, soul match stuff, huge amount of customization as I've mentioned. The controls are absolutely rock solid. It feels really, really good to play. In fairness, it's an almost flawless game. The only real beef I have with it is, at the minute, I think they may have patched it now, but you know, there's co-op in the game. You can summon people into your game as you can in Dark Souls, but it makes the game far too easy. When you consider that you've already got a lot of tools at your disposal in this game, if you compare it to a Souls game, for example, just a lot more tools in your arsenal. You know, loads of different weapons. You know, you can hotkey or shortcut loads of different bombs, you know, kunai, shurikens. You can enchant them with magic, like all of your weapons, including the small things. You've got talismans that can help you regenerate life, and it doesn't hold you back as much as the Souls games do in terms of gameplay. And I think that's why a lot of Souls veterans may say, oh, it's a lot easier than Dark Souls, and in many ways it is, but it's not down to the actual difficulty of the enemies or the game itself. It's inherent within the mechanics of it, the amount of tools it gives you, all of the options you've got in combat. And consequently, though it may seem a bit easier than Dark Souls, I actually think it's more fun because of it. Leveling feels really meaningful. Going to a shrine and cashing in your bonuses, using your Amrita or your souls to level up. You know, you notice the difference when you put badass armor on and when you get the perks from it. It feels more immediate and more fun than Souls does. It feels a lot less grindy. I really appreciate that extra level of customization that Team Ninja have put into the game, because it not only makes it more accessible, but also it focuses on you just going out there and having fun with the game, basically. And yes, it's incredibly punishing, and it will, you know, mess you up if you make mistakes, but you learn from those mistakes. And I've very rarely raged at this. In fact, I think I've only raged a couple of times, and it's been over mistakes that I know that I've made, like accidentally rolling off a cliff when I was trying to dodge an enemy's attack and losing all of my souls, or just dying to the same boss because I'm making the same mistake 5 times in a row. But still, you know, it's got that level of satisfaction that you get from those action RPGs. Also, there's an online clan system, which I've only really just dug into. You can choose like an allegiance to a different clan each. There's like 30 or 40 of them, each with different perks. And I think these perks will only work in PvP when they put it up. There's no actual PvP at the minute, which is a shame, because I would love to, you know, now that I'm like level 80, just like jump into people's games and invade them and start fucking them up. Like, I want to be a massive troll on this, but I also want to be trolled. So yeah, I'm looking forward to PvP. It's a bit annoying that it didn't come in the final product, I have to admit, but I'm sure that they want it to be balanced and fair. That's all I really have to say about Nioh. It's an incredible, incredible game, and if you love Japanese culture, if you love that kind of era of the samurai, if you love a really challenging RPG with super rewarding combat, really cool aesthetics, guardian spirits, and crazy attacks, and bonuses, and buffs, and loot, if you love all of that, and you're willing to put in time, you're willing to take the deaths, you're willing to take it all on the chin, and you're willing to get good, get this fucking game. It's amazing, and you will not regret it. I'm the Sofa Soldier. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to give this a like, subscribe for more content from 4Gamers vs the World. You might see stuff posted in the next few weeks. Like I said, I'm going to be putting more stuff up on Nioh. Definitely some of my favourite boss fights, stuff from live streams, funny rage moments. Also, I'm going to try and do a bit of Horizon Zero Dawn and upload as little spoilerish stuff as I can. Like I said, probably just funny moments, cool bosses, that kind of thing. But yeah, take it easy guys, peace out.